very special. Maybe even more importantly, factories for AI and for cars and for lots of other things are being built in this country or planned to be built very shortly. They'll be starting. And where they need great amounts of energy, like for AI, they're going to be, I've given them approval. And Lee Zeldin has given them very fast approval to build their own electric powering plants, and they'll build them with the factory, so we don't have to worry about an ancient grid and all of the other problems, the obstacles people thought we were going to have that would make it impossible. And we're leading AI by a lot, and I think people are very impressed with our country. As they said, the King of Saudi Arabia and various leaders, and just about every leader I can even imagine. We were in the Middle East and Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia. They said, 1 year ago, your country was dead, and today you have the hottest country anywhere in the world, and that's true. So I congratulate everybody in the room that's helped, but we're doing a good job together. I'd like to begin by saying a few words about the unbelievable kind of numbers that we've been putting up. And as I said, the number of 3%, the pace in the second quarter, we smashed all expectations. They thought it would be maybe a little bit less than 2, and it was 3, a little bit more than 3. Consumer spending is up. Business investment is way up. Domestic manufacturing is way up. Real disposable family income is up, and personal savings are up. Other than that, we're not doing so great. We have the hottest country, and I'll tell you, it's a great, we're having a lot of fun with it. At the same time, we dramatically slashed government spending for the second quarter in a row, down nearly 4%, which people were surprised at. We do a lot of cutting also. The private sector has boomed with nearly 600,000 jobs added, way above expectations, while we have reduced the federal workforce by 70,000 jobs. So these are private jobs that are coming back to our country. Federal jobs are being cut. Critics said that our tariffs would hurt the economy, but the data shows the exact opposite, and the exact opposite is happening. The U.S. Treasury has taken in $150 billion from tariffs, and we'll be adding about $200 billion next month for totals that nobody's ever seen before, frankly. And foreign imports were down 30% in the second quarter, while the domestic auto production surged by a stunning 36%. How about that number, Dr. Oz? Right? That's good. That's good. We want to do that with your patients, too. We'll have a very healthy. We're going to have a very healthy country. At the same time, inflation continues to fall faster than expectations, and for the 5th consecutive month, core inflation was lower than predicted substantially. This is truly the dawn of the golden age of America. That's what we're in. We want to keep it that way. This afternoon, we're gathered to announce another historic victory for the American people, a very important one. Today, the dream of easily transportable electronic medical records finally becomes a reality. I want to thank Secretary Scott Bessent, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr. for joining us, as well as Administrator of the Centers for Medicine and Medicaid Services, Dr. Mehmet Oz, all friends of mine, White House AI and crypto czar David Sachs, and Acting Administrator of DOJ, Amy Gleason, all here. And we have various great senators here. Senator Round, Senator Cassidy, thank you very much for being here and helping out. I also want to thank representatives from Apple, Google, Samsung, Amazon, OpenAI, Anthropic, Epic, Oracle, Athena, Health, Noom, and that's not a bad group of people. Wow. And they're the top people. We don't play games. You know, when you invite people to the White House, the top ones, that's a big net worth sitting in this room right now. Boy, oh boy, we better make sure the room is nice and safe. This is half the net worth of our country. I'm also grateful to be joined by many, numerous congressmen. I'm not going to name you if you don't mind. I'll probably never get their vote again, but it's too many. Thank you very much for being here. The Congress has been great. Senators have been great, and the congressmen and women have been great. We just passed the most important, I think, look, I can't say most important, but certainly one of the most, but the most consequential and the largest bill in the history of Congress. And I call it the great, big, beautiful bill. We call it different names, but it all means the same thing. For decades, America's healthcare networks have been overdue for a high-tech upgrade, and that's what we're doing. The existing systems are often slow, costly, and incompatible with one another. But with today's announcement, we take a major step to bring healthcare into the digital age, something that is absolutely vital. You got to do it. Moving from clipboards and fax machines into a new era of convenience, profitability, and speed, and frankly, better health for people. Under the leadership of Administrator Oz, we're officially launching the CMS Digital Health Tech ecosystem to give healthcare providers, insurers, and software companies the tools they need to empower Americans with a 21st century experience on health. The key breakthrough we've made is getting many of the biggest names in the healthcare and technology to agree to industry-wide standards for electronic medical records. All of those great companies that you just heard have gotten together with this group of very brilliant people. I don't know who's more brilliant, them or them. I don't know. Could be them. I hate to tell you. It could very well be them. But I don't know. I'm going to take my team. But the key breakthrough we've made is getting many of the biggest names in healthcare and technology to agree to that those standards of electronic medical records that we talk about and you've heard about for so many years, and now it's happening. This will allow patients to easily transmit information from one doctor to another, even if they're different networks and using different record-keeping systems. No matter what system they use, they're all transferable. The new standards will also make it simple for patients to access their own personal health records. I don't want to see mine, please. I don't want to see. I don't know about you. They have all sorts of things. Sir, they can tell you exactly what your problem is going to be in 6 years. We can do it. You know, they have all these different things. I don't know if they work or not, but I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear it. If they got a problem, I don't want to know about it right now. But it is amazing what they're doing. I don't know, does it actually work? Can they do that? All right, well, then I'm glad I said I don't want to know. But thanks to this announcement, healthcare providers across the country will also finally be able to kill the clipboard. It's an expression that's used, capital, with a capital C, kill the clipboard. Instead of filling out the same tedious paperwork at every medical appointment, patients will simply be able to grant their doctors access to their records at the push of a button, just a button, and you're all set, and all the information the doctor needs will be immediately transmitted. The system will be entirely opt-in, and there will be no centralized government-run database, which everyone is always concerned about. I'm less concerned than anybody. I say whatever it is, but people are very, very concerned about the personal records. They want to keep them very quiet, and that's their choice. I think it's a great thing because it'll be absolutely quiet. Instead, doctors and patients will always remain in control. The benefits to millions of Americans will be enormous. We will save time, we will save money, and most importantly, we'll save lives. It's just going to make people live longer and be a lot healthier. I think that's really what you're looking to do. And now I'd like to ask Secretary Kennedy to say a few words, followed by David Sachs, Dr. Oz, and Amy Gleason. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And I just want to begin by making a comment that is irrelevant to what we're gathered here today to talk about. But I've been coming to this building for 65 years, and I have to say that it's never looked better. I've spent some time in the Oval Office, which it really has, it's been transformed. And I was looking at picture of the Oval Office the other day when I was there, when I was a kid with my uncle. And, you know, it was an extraordinary, it's always an extraordinary to go into that sacred space. But I have to say that it looked kind of drab in the pictures. And they were black and white pictures, but it looked drab. And it looks the opposite of drab today. And I think, I know all these portraits, I hope you get a chance to look at them when you go out there, that they were handpicked by the president. And many of them hijacked from other agencies that were trying to keep them. But I mean, you know, my uncle, my aunt, Jackie, who were deeply committed to design, to beauty, and who understood that it's important to have our public buildings be beautiful because it inspires us, it elevates the human spirit. It's one of the, it is a template and it's an example, an exemplar for democracy, the releasing through freedoms of the creativity of the human spirit. And this building, of all buildings, should look beautiful. And under your stewardship, it looks extraordinary today. So thank you, Mr. President, for that. About 3 weeks ago, I met with the Indonesian health minister. And Indonesia today is regarded as the highest flourishing nation on earth. Since 1990, it has increased the lifespan of its women by 8 years, of its men by 9 years. There's no country that has a record like that. And there are two major innovations that allowed them to achieve that extraordinary outcome. And one of those was to disincentivize people from eating processed foods. Oh, you are paid not to eat processed foods, and you are penalized for eating processed foods. The other innovation that really transformed Indonesia was allowing people control of their individual health records. And he showed me the app that they use that everybody in Indonesia has. And it shows your height, your weight, your blood type, your BMI, your cardiac markers, your diabetes markers, your cholesterol, and any kind of individualized treatments that you've had. So if you go to a doctor in another town, he doesn't do what we have to do here, which is to sit there with a clipboard and a fax machine in order to get your health records. It's available, and it allows them to give better treatment. It also allows you to make better choices over your life. And there's other apps like Yaka in Indonesia that allow you to choose good foods when you go to the grocery store. So you can turn your app on your phone and you can get full information of those foods. Well, now if you have your medical records, you can get personalized advice. And that app will also give you advice about a better alternative. So we're going to be able to, we met, Dr. Oz and I met with the former Prime Minister Rudd of Australia just before, just after the election during the transition phase. And he, after his retirement as Prime Minister, he ran a commission to reorganize the Australian health system, and they revolutionized it, and they vastly improved health in Australia. And he said the single thing that he did that was most important to that transformation was the transparency that occurs when people control their own health records. Because it gives people the choice over their own health decisions and over their own lives, and it gives them a sense of responsibility and allows them to measure the interventions if they change their diet, if they change their exercise. It can show you how many steps you took today. It can tell you if your glucose is spiking. And all of that information will now be available to American citizens. 60 years ago today, we passed Medicaid and Medicare in this country. And we have 60 CEOs in this room of these extraordinary companies, some of which the president just mentioned, that have all agreed voluntarily to start sharing information. President Trump, during his first term, passed the interoperability rule. And it was intended to do this. For 20 years, the federal government has been trying to do this. Everybody recognizes it's absolutely critical innovation for us advancing the health of American citizens, to give them responsibility and to give them control over their own healthcare choices. And unfortunately, you ran out of time the last time around. President Trump gave us instructions that he wanted this to happen within 6 months. We barely made it under the wire thanks to Dr. Oz's leadership. And within 6 months, every American's going to be doing it thanks to the cooperation of the corporate leaders in this room. You know, about 3 months ago, I met with the food executives, and I asked them to voluntarily come forward and get rid of food dyes, of the 9 synthetic petroleum dyes. And this is something, again, the government, Democrats and Republicans have been trying to do for 20 years. And the industry came forward, and now 40% of the food industry in this country has taken the pledge to remove food dyes from all of their foods. That happened because of your leadership, Mr. President. A month ago, we got, after a lot of work by Chris Klump and Dr. Oz and a lot of other people in our agency, we got all the insurance executives to come together in our country and in our offices and agree to get rid of pre-authorization for 80% of the DSM codes. This is a voluntary agreement. 80% of the industry has now agreed to do that. So this is happening because of good leadership. President Trump, you've asked us to think big, you've inspired us to dream big, and you've enabled us to accomplish things that no other president has been able to do. So I want to thank you for your leadership, for allowing this to happen, and with your leadership, we're going to make America healthy again. Now I want to introduce my friend, my colleague, the crypto czar, the acting administrator of Doge, David Sachs.
Thank you, Secretary Kennedy. I recently got a text message from a friend whose wife has been suffering from a chronic illness for something like a decade, and they've been trying to figure out what it is. They've never been able to figure it out. And I just want to read this to you right off my phone. He said, I uploaded my wife's blood work into one of our leading AI engines on Friday. It essentially diagnosed her as having a rare genetic defect that causes bone marrow failure. It's caused every single thing that's happened to her. She has every single symptom. It started at exactly at the same age of presentation. It's 10 people out of 1 million. There's absolutely no way this is not it. So wow, it's really an incredible example of what AI is already able to do just today, and we're just getting started. And this was one person putting his wife's data in one of our consumer AI apps, and he's already been able to get that diagnosis, and that's going to help them tremendously. The key is the unlocking of the data, because the more data that AI has, the better it performs. And so, kudos to Dr. Oz and Secretary Kennedy for this pledge today. They were able to get 60 major companies across different sectors of the economy to agree to unlock their data so that AI can use it to drive better patient outcomes. And this is, all due to your leadership and President Trump's leadership to put the American people's healthcare needs first. And I remember Dr. Oz, he was one of the first people to call me during the transition when the president announced I'd be AI czar, because he wanted to ask me about how AI could better be used in healthcare. So kudos to you, Dr. Oz. Your passion's really incredible. And kudos to you, Secretary Kennedy, your passion as well. And I remember a couple of years ago, I was a big fan of Bobby Kennedy when he was running as a Democrat. And I remember thinking,
gave a lot more money to President Trump.
Well, I remember thinking there's this one problem with Bobby Kennedy. He's not a Republican, but thanks to President Trump, I think we fixed that. So, and I think that getting people like Dr. Oz and Bobby Kennedy into the administration is a testament to President Trump and the talent that he's able to attract and pull together, and the partnerships that he's able to forge, because these are people who could be doing other things. So it's really a testament to the great talent that President Trump always attracts around him. Today's pledge by these companies is going to tear down barriers that allows both startups and established firms to compete freely. We're opening up the playing field so that the best tools can scale compete on value and discover new methods for making Americans healthy again. Technologies like AI, they do things like they will expand access to care, cut administrative costs, reduce fraud, and deliver better results for patients and doctors. And I want to thank you, President Trump, for your promise to not only make Americans healthy again, but also to ensure that America is a predominant AI superpower. Just last week, you announced a major AI action plan with hundreds of billions of dollars of new investment in AI infrastructure, and also getting red tape out of the way so that we can be the leading country in AI. And it's these life-saving applications that are going to be built on top of all of that infrastructure. So thank you for your leadership in making the United States the #1 country in AI. Thank you, sir.
David, thank you.
And now, Dr. Oz, we'll take it from here.
Mr. President, today we are making American health technology remarkably great again. We've always been at the leadership. David's right, I called him early on after the President offered me the position and him as well. And we began brainstorming on this. Secretary Kennedy from day one appreciated the crisis that we're in and how we needed to address it. So today is a remarkably important day, one that you will remember, I believe, for years to come for 3 reasons. Yes, it is the 60th birthday of Medicare and Medicaid. The first patient, by the way, was Harry S. Truman. Although Lyndon Johnson signed the legislation 60 years ago today, not far from here. It is not just the ability to bring 60 of the top incumbents and insurgents in health technology, hospital systems, insurance companies, electronic medical record companies, AI companies, the big players. You're all here, and we appreciate that very much. But, Mr. President, you used the power to convene. That's fundamentally what I think the President has been able to offer us. And Secretary Kennedy offered us, as a group, some examples, but there are more to come. And I want to touch on some of these. But first, I've got to do what doctors often have to do, which is to tell you the truth, even if you don't want to hear it. So here goes. These beautiful programs, which are the backbone of the social network, the social support system of this country, the safety net, they're flailing. They're flailing for a bunch of reasons. Medicaid is a unique entity. It has deviated from its original purpose by drift and by design. The One Big Beautiful Bill, the OB3 law, was elegant for that very reason. And President, I don't know if you remember this, I can share this, but he called me once and he was upset at me because I was going too strident at something. And he said, this is about fraud, waste, and abuse. That's what we're interested in doing. And that's exactly what the One Big Beautiful Bill accomplished. And it especially did it to save Medicaid by putting $200 billion more dollars into it and allocating funds very specifically to use to support rural America. And primarily, some of that money will be used to support digital infrastructure, which is terribly lacking in many parts of the country. The money that's sent from Washington doesn't get to rural America. About 7% of Medicaid dollars get to rural hospitals. We now have an ability to infuse funds through this $50 billion Rural Health Transformation Fund into that system. The gathering today is another example of how we can actually jumpstart that and accelerate it. The other reality is COVID broke the system. It did for many reasons. Medicaid expenses went up 50% in 5 years. Medicare, the trust fund that we met at actually Treasury with Secretary Bessent and Secretary Kennedy as trustees, it goes bankrupt in 2033. And that is actually a conservative estimate. It could go bankrupt as early as 2029. Thankfully, due to the economy, that's not going to happen. But we don't want to have to take that risk, and there's some fundamental changes we need to make accordingly. Now, there's one other big reality about making the system more efficient, which is why what everyone here is talking about is so critical. And let's just pick an average American born in 1964. That average American born in 64 will retire this year at age 61. If just that one group of people born in 64 could work 3 years longer because they're healthy, because they feel like they want to do it, because they feel vital and vigorous, and they're flourishing, just that 1 year working longer is $1 trillion to the U.S. GDP, and is $300 billion of tax revenue to pay for a lot of the problems that people are concerned about. So it's not just keeping people out of the hospital, getting them to thrive and flourish that makes what we're doing so critical today. I think there are a lot of realities to how healthcare has gone. Unfortunately, the system is frozen, and it has been for many reasons, despite efforts in the first administration. It's frozen in time, so it cannot address the quality lags that exist. While Netflix and Airbnb and Uber drivers are racing ahead, making arrangements Identifying the problems that are challenging us in healthcare have become incredibly difficult. You can't make appointments. The average Americans are tired. They're tired of waiting for a doctor's appointment. They're tired of waiting for the surprise of what your hospital bill is going to offer. That's being addressed by one of the president's executive orders. They're tired of waiting for access to their medical records. You own your medical records. They're yours. Why you can't have access to them is a stunning reality in modern-day America. They're also tired of waiting for Washington to take action. And this president early on emphatically stated that wasn't going to happen anymore, and today we made that vision into a reality. And there's a fine line between vision and hallucination. What you did today was show it's a vision, because you share it with us and we're moving ahead on it. And that's what today's commitments essentially are reflecting. And they are pledges, they're not laws, they're nimble and they're fast and they're quick, because the president understands that you, each of you in your own way, understand these needs. And Secretary Kennedy spoke beautifully about the reality of what happens when you actually have electronic records, because what he said is happening in Indonesia, we'll have here. Within a year, on your device, and 91% of Medicaid patients have smartphones. On this device, you'll get insights based on your records if you want. You don't have to take this, but if you desire, Amy Gleason is one of the smartest people I've ever worked with, has built a mechanism to be able to get you that information in a way with all these partners helping, so that you can get nudged to pay attention to what you're eating and avoid processed foods that Secretary Kennedy smartly and wisely highlighted as so dangerous to our well-being. All this, by the way, is that will be at the fingertips. In addition, advice about which doctor to see, when to go see them, nudges, reminding you why I didn't do certain things. If you're a doctor like me, it's a very different story. It's to help you navigate the system better. It's giving you advice, decision support, which is becoming increasingly important as medicine gets more difficult. But I'll tell you the best thing of all, how many of you have been with your doctor telling them something heartfelt, very emotional, and they're looking to the side, typing into their computer, right? It's common. Put your hands up. I just want to see it. Yeah, most everybody. And that's unfortunate, because the whole sacrament, the whole covenant of being with the doctor is having them look you in the eyes and realize you're there for each other. That process is going to go away. We will, within the workflow of doctors, be able, with your help, allow physicians to take care of patients, gather the information while they're doing it, and will destroy the upcoding that has hurt Medicare Advantage and other programs in a similar fashion. The IT infrastructure that's going to change promises to improve a lot of things. We're going to cut fraud, waste, and abuse. Mr. President, we announced with the DOJ 2 weeks ago a $15 billion bust. $15 billion, it's a multinational criminal syndicate based primarily, we believe, in the Soviet Union, in Russia. And what they did was hack using beneficiary numbers into the system. We'll be able to stop that because of a system that Amy has put together, and the wonderful work of Amy Brandt, who has a fraud war room using this kind of technology, because we'll know who you are and who your doctor is, so we can block this. We're going to have remarkable advances in how consumers can use their own records. We'll have beneficiaries be able to get MAHA advice and prevention tips, and even be able to nudge them and reward them perhaps for that. And all this comes back to one fundamental issue, Mr. President, which is leadership. I think 60 people, the biggest, the best, the willing, came forward because of your leadership, because you weren't going to take no for an answer, and they know it. We are building a robust and safe, I emphasize that, safe system. It's going to protect the data better than we could have imagined. We're going to be able to accomplish goals that all of us wished from day one that would be in place. These pledges are now confirmed. They're signed in public. And you have therefore empowered Americans to own their property, which is their medical records. Let me introduce Amy Gleason. She is acting director of DOJ, U.S. Digital Service as well, and was actually the brilliant woman who pulled together the pieces of this puzzle with so many members of the audience. Amy Gleason.
Good afternoon. First, I would like to thank President Trump for his leadership in this area, and Secretary Kennedy and Administrator Oz for driving this work with clarity and urgency. I would also like to thank my colleagues who have been instrumental to this, and we've worked a lot of late nights and hard times on this, and it would not have been possible without them. I want to start today with my daughter Morgan, who's here in the audience. If you'd please stand up. I am so inspired and energized by your strength every day. And we also have two other patients here, Randy and Tom, who have been very inspiring. Thank you for being here today. You're why this all matters. Let me start talking about my daughter's history. So 15 years ago, she was diagnosed with a rare disease. She was 11 years old, and she started showing mysterious symptoms. Over the last year and a half after that, she saw the country's best doctors, but she still continued to get worse. At some point, she couldn't stand up off the floor or walk up the stairs, and we still had no answers. I carried a binder of paper records to every doctor's appointment so that I could keep them aligned. And I truly believe that if one of those doctors had been able to see her whole history, they would have diagnosed her faster. And if we had just had today's AI, then they could have connected the dots that the humans missed. Today, Morgan takes 21 pills a day, gets 2 infusions a month, and has over 40 patient portals. Her disease is very rare, but her experience, it's very common. And that is what we're here to fix today. Too many patients are forced to remember all the doctors that they've been to and log into portal after portal, repeating their story at every visit, and they don't have the digital tools to help them stay well. Meanwhile, every other part of our life is digital. I can order groceries and have them delivered in minutes. I get personalized recommendations on my other apps. But in healthcare, we still see it on paper and manual situations. But today, thanks to President Trump, we're changing that. Over 15 years, we've tried to regulate our way to a better outcome. And we have gotten a path forward, but they have not delivered the modern healthcare experience that Americans expect and deserve. I'm so proud today that these 60 companies have voluntarily stepped forward to make a pledge to take action and to join us to say, we're ready, let's fix this, we're in. We're trying something different. It's not regulation or rulemaking. This is a voluntary alignment around a shared vision, a commitment to work across boundaries, across competitors, and across silos. We're bringing together data sharing networks, electronic medical records, doctors, health systems, payers, and app developers. And we're asking one simple question: what can we do right now to make this work for patients? The companies pledging today are agreeing to collaborate, even with their direct competitors, because they know we can't keep kicking the can down the road. We have to stop talking about data interoperability and make the data flow. Here's something important. Not all patients will want these tools. Some will rely on their caregivers, and others will rely on their doctors, so they don't have to carry it themselves. But no matter how people engage, we must make sure it works for everyone. CMS is doing its part. We're clearing the path for innovation by building the long overdue National Provider Directory, a kind of digital map for healthcare that connects systems in real time and helps patients get more coordinated care. We're also modernizing Medicare.gov to feel more seamless and smart like other apps we use. But the government can't do this and shouldn't do it alone. These tools we need to make daily decisions must come from the private sector, and that's why this is so important. So let me tell you what this might look like after our collaborative effort. So Morgan, in 6 months from now, might show up to her doctor's appointment, and instead of filling out a clipboard with her 21 medications, 12 doctors, and her entire medical history, she can just pull out her phone and tap or scan a QR code and seamlessly transfer her digital insurance card, her verified medical record, and a digital summary that could help her provider get up to speed faster. We call this kill the clipboard, as President Trump said. After the visit, Morgan opens her AI assistant, a tool that she has authorized to access her records, and asks, what did the doctor say today? What did these results mean? What should I watch for now? And the assistant responds using her actual health history, explains her care plan in plain language, helps her track her symptoms, and even schedules follow-up visits if she needs them. And lastly, she has a new favorite app that helps her manage her chronic conditions. Because for years, Morgan has said what other patients say: I only see a doctor a few days a year, but I live with this disease every day. Today, we're starting with apps that can support patients 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world. They don't replace doctors, they just fill in the gap between visits so that care is continuous and not episodic. So what makes this effort different? Today, we have all these apps that want to provide these services, but they can't get the data because it is so hard for patients to access their records. But today, we have 18 network companies who are here pledging to fix the infrastructure that makes this possible. They're doing this through modern data sharing networks that removes the burden on patients and providers and makes it available in real time using modern identity, just like when you check in at the airport. These honor patient privacy and transparency, and most importantly, it's a movement to work together to remove the friction that's holding us back. Because access to information shouldn't be a luxury, it should be a standard. So for all the Morgans out there, come join this movement with us at cms.gov. Let's kill the clipboard and axe the facts. Let's help make health tech great again. Or in this case, maybe it's for the first time. Thank you, President Trump.
Thank you very much. That was great. And hello. You look very, very healthy to me. You look really great. So just, I want to thank all of the companies that are here. These are big names, great people. And now you're doing something that's so important for our country, really for the world. It's beyond our country, I suspect. It's really for the world. So just keep it up. And you've hit new highs almost virtually every day for the last few months. And that makes your job probably a little bit easier. You're under very little stress. But someday you might have a little bit, but you're not going to have much. I think we're really going to great heights. But I just want to thank everybody, political people and the teachers and the companies and all of our cabinet. I even see Newt. Do I see Newt? I see Newt. Look at him. He's such a handsome man. He's a healthy man. We don't have to do any tests on him. But good to see you, Newt. But I just want to thank everybody. This is a very big undertaking, and it's a very serious undertaking. It's going to make a lot of people lead a much better life. Thank you all very much for coming. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Can I call you by MFN?
Yeah.
Can we start?
Nice to see you. Well, thank you very much. It's a beautiful Sunday in Scotland, and we thought we could cut things short and certainly travel distance, right, by having our meeting here. So we discuss options, and it's an honor to have the President of the European Union with us. Ursula's been really done a terrific job for them, not for us, but she's done a great job for them. And she's highly respected by us also. And we look forward to talking to see if we can do something. We've had a very good relationship over the years, but it's been a very one-sided transaction, very unfair to the United States. And I think both sides want to see fairness, but it's been a very, very one-sided deal, and it shouldn't be. And so we're here with her very brilliant staff, and hopefully we'll resolve a few issues. But it's a great honor. You know, we just built this ballroom, and we're building a great ballroom at the White House. The White House has wanted a ballroom for 150 years, but they never had a real estate person. You know, no president knew how to build a ballroom. But this just opened, you know, a relatively short time ago, and it's been quite the success. And I think, I was just saying I could take this one, drop it right down there, and it would be beautiful. This is exactly what they've wanted. But it's an honor to have you at the new ballroom at Turnberry. And thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you very much for inviting me here. Indeed, it is today about trade between the European Union and the United States. We're together the two largest economies worldwide.
Right.
If you look at the trade volume, it's the biggest trade volume globally, with $1.7 trillion among us. And if you look at our markets, it's a huge market, 800 million people if you take the United States and the European Union. So I'm very much looking forward to the discussions we will have now. Our staff have done some of the heavy lifting, but now it's on us.
Yeah.
And you're known as a tough negotiator and deal maker. What is
fair.
in front? And fair. And what is in front of
That's
us?
less important.
If we are successful, I think it would be the biggest deal each of us has ever struck. So I'm very much looking forward.
Ever struck by anybody, that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
That's true. Right now, we have that honor goes to Japan. We just struck a deal with Japan, as you know. And we're very close to a deal with China. We really sort of made a deal with China, but we'll see how that goes. And we have numerous other deals. And mostly I'm just going to charge tariffs. And, you know, there's not a deal per se, but people are going to pay tariffs. And we're doing them at the low end, not the high end, because we don't want to hurt anybody. And pretty well, but you and I both figured this is really the biggest trading partnership in the world, so we should give it a shot, right?
Yeah. Very much looking forward to that.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I do too. Any questions, please?
On a Friday, you put the chances of a deal at 50%, maybe less. It seems like you're in quite a good mood. How would you rate those chances now?
I'm actually not in a good mood, but I will tell you, I think the chances are, yeah, I think Ursula would say, probably 50-50 of making a deal. I hope, you know, I'd like to make a deal. I think it's good for both, but yeah, I'd say 50-50.
And what would you say the main sticking points are at this moment?
We have 3 or 4 sticking points. I'd rather not get in. We'll be discussing them. But I think the main sticking point is fairness. Okay. Please.
Why you're in a bad mood? Was it a bad morning of golf, or why you're not in a good mood?
No, the golf was beautiful. It's golf can never be bad, even if you play badly. It's still good. If you had a bad day on the golf course, it's okay. It's better than other days. But no, I think I look forward to this meeting. You know, we've had a hard time with trade with Europe, very hard time, and I'd like to see it resolved. But if it isn't, we'll, you know, have tariffs, and they'll do what they have to do. But we have a good chance of getting it resolved. We'll probably know in about an hour. Shouldn't take that long. It's, you know, it's complicated, but not really complicated when you get right down to it, right?
Well, pharmaceutical.
August 1st deadline? Is there any chance that gets...
No. The August 1st is there for everyone. The deals all start on August 1st. Most of the deals, other than steel and aluminum, which we've been getting 50% tariffs from, I guess, just about everybody, and those have come in, and we've taken in, you know, hundreds of billions of dollars just on steel and aluminum. You've seen the numbers. We had a tremendous amount of money come in over the last month, and it's coming in, you know, very rapidly, which is fair. We have a lot of steel mills and plants, aluminum mills and plants being built. We have a lot of AI being built, and we have a lot of auto plants being built or going to be built because they don't want to pay tariffs. So, you know, if they don't want to pay tariffs, the best way to do it is just build your plant in the United States. Yes, please.
What do you expect from the Europeans in terms of opening their markets to American products?
Well, they have to open up to American products. You know, we're open to European products, and we have been for forever. I don't think we have, we just about don't have any, I don't think we have any product that we say you can't sell. I guess you could get a little bit cute with chips, but that's, you know, a little bit different category too. No, you know, Europe is very closed. We don't sell cars into Europe. We don't sell essentially agriculture of any great degree. They want to have their farmers do it, and they want to have their car companies do it. I'm not saying anything that nobody knows. We have a rough situation. If we want to sell cars in Europe, we're not allowed to. And as you know, they sell millions and millions of cars, Mercedes, BMW, so many different, Volkswagen, so many different cars, and so many millions of cars. I would imagine number one, I didn't look at that, but I would imagine number one by far, more so than even Japan. Japan sells a lot of cars too. But the Japan deal worked out very favorable, you know, very good. I hope for them too. And that's what we want to do, make everybody happy. Yes, please.
Mr. President, should Israel be doing more to allow food into Gaza?
Say it.
Should Israel be doing more to allow food into Gaza?
What did you say?
Should Israel be doing more to allow food into Gaza?
Well, you know, we gave $60 million 2 weeks ago, and nobody even acknowledged it, for food. And it's terrible. You know, you really at least want to have somebody say thank you. No other country gave anything. We gave $60 million 2 weeks ago for food for Gaza. And nobody acknowledged it. Nobody talks about it. And it makes you feel a little bad when you do that and, you know, you have other countries not giving anything. None of the European countries, by the way, gave. I mean, nobody gave but us. And nobody said, gee, thank you very much. And it would be nice to have at least a thank you. And I took a lot of heat. You know, when I do that, a lot of people aren't happy about that because they say, well, why are we doing it and nobody else? But I think we had a humanitarian reason for doing it. What's going to happen? I don't know. I can tell you that Hamas, as I said, would happen at the end. You know, we've gotten back a lot of hostages, a tremendous number of hostages, most of them. Now we have dead hostages, and the mothers want them back, and we have 20 people approximately, but that are living. But we have a lot of bodies, and the parents want those bodies as much as they would want their child if that child were alive. I met with parents that were, it was so sad. Sir, please get my son back. How is your son doing? Well, he's dead, but they have his body, and it's so important. It's more important. It's almost like more, but it's as important as if the child were living. These people were, I mean, they're devastated. And I said, when you get it down to a certain number, you're not going to be able to make a deal with Hamas. Because once they give them up, then they feel that that's going to be the end of them. And what I said is exactly true. You know, they had a routine discussion the other day, and all of a sudden they hardened up. They don't want to give them back. And so Israel's going to have to make a decision. I know what I do, but I don't think it's appropriate that I say, but Israel's going to have to make a decision.
Mr. President, when you were in the Middle East, you talked about the images coming out of Gaza and the starving kids. Those images are still going. Many of them are much worse. Thinner children, starving. What do you see or feel when you look at those images today?
Well, it's terrible. You know, when I see the children, and when I see, especially over the last couple of weeks, and people are stealing the food, they're stealing the money, for the food. They're stealing weapons. They're stealing everything. It's a mess. That whole place is a mess. The Gaza Strip, you know, was given many years ago so that they could have peace. That didn't work out too well. When Israel gave that up, whoever was the prime minister at the time, who I know who it was, but it was not exactly a very clever thing to do, because that was given so that they finally have peace, and it's actually made the situation worse. But we'll see what happens. I think Iran is acting up. I think that we have a lot of people we have Venezuela acting up in a different way. They continue to send people that we rebuff to our border. They continue to send drugs into our country. Venezuela, they've been very nasty, and we can't let that happen. But we have other countries too. We do have, and this is just getting a little off subject, but we have now the safest border we've ever had. And I think in many respects we probably have the most successful, and I say it all the time, every leader, when I went to NATO the other day, every leader said, you have the hottest country in the world. We have the hottest country in the world now. We're taking in hundreds of billions of dollars. We have the highest stock market we've ever had. We have the best numbers we've ever had. But we have hundreds of billions of dollars pouring into our country. And I think it's the hottest. And by the way, 1 year ago, our country was dead. We had a dead country because of an incompetent president and incompetent Democrats. All they know how to do is talk and think about conspiracy theories and nonsense. If they'd waste their time talking about America being great again, it would be so much nicer, so much easier, be very successful. But we were a dead country, and now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. Yeah, any other questions?
President Trump, on this particular deal, if you manage to do a deal today, will that be the end of the matter, or could there be more tariffs coming, particularly on pharmaceuticals?
No, if we do a deal today with the European Union, that will be the end of it. Yeah, we'll go, I guess, a number of years at least before we have to even discuss it again. No, that would be the end of it. And this is the biggest deal. People don't realize this is bigger than any other deal. We have great countries. I'm familiar with many of them. So are you. And this is really the biggest deal. This is I guess we're the biggest out there, and they're the second. And when we come together, this will be the biggest deal. If that happens, and it could happen, should happen. Okay? Thank you.
Will pharmaceuticals be part of today's?
No, it won't. Pharmaceuticals will be, could be, we'll do something, but basically pharmaceuticals won't be part of it because we have to have them made in the United States, and we want them made in the United States. And I think it's easy to say, and I think it's important to say pharmaceuticals are very special. We can't be in a position where we're relying on other countries. Now, Europe is going to make pharmaceuticals, drugs, and everything else for us too, a lot, but we're going to have also our own.
A question for President von der Leyen, please.
Yes.
Can you give your assessment of what you feel the chances are of the deal? The President just talked about a 50-50 chance, and the biggest obstacle being fairness. What would you say are those things for you?
I think the President is right. We have a 50 to 50% chance to strike a deal. And indeed, it is about rebalancing. So you can call it fairness, you can call it rebalancing. We have a surplus, the United States has a deficit, and we have to rebalance it. We have an excellent trade relation. It's a huge volume of trade that we have together. So we will make it more sustainable.
Mr. Trump, can you do better than a 15% tariff rate for the EU?
Better meaning lower?
Yeah.
No.
Mr. President, to return to Gaza, you're going to meet the British Prime Minister tomorrow. He's going to ask you to consider again peace talks between Israel and Hamas. Are you now saying there is no point in trying to...
Well, we're meeting about a lot of things. We have our trade deal, and it's been a great deal. It's good for them and good for us, I think. You know, the UK is very happy. They've been trying for 12 years to get it, and they got it, and it's a great trade deal for both. It works out very well. But we'll be discussing that. I think we're going to be discussing a lot about Israel. They're very much involved in terms of wanting something to happen. He's doing a very good job, by the way.
Also in Gaza, sir, did you speak with Prime Minister Netanyahu this weekend about getting more aid into Gaza?
I talked to him, yeah, I did. I talked to him about a lot of things. I talked to him about Iran. I think Iran's been very nasty with their words, with their mouth. I think they've been very nasty. They got the hell knocked out of them, and I don't think they know it. You know, I actually don't think they know it. They really do. The whole thing's a con job. We have a lot of con jobs going on. But Iran was beaten up very badly, for good reason. We cannot have them have a nuclear weapon, but they still talk about enrichment. I mean, who would do that? You just come out of something that's so bad, and they talk about, we want to continue enrichment. Who would say that? How stupid can you be to say that? So we're not going to allow that to happen. We're not allowing that to happen.
Did you talk about more aid into Gaza?
Will I do more aid? Yeah. The U.S. is going to do more aid for Gaza. But we'd like to have other countries participate. We're going to mention that to the European Union today. That's an international problem. It's not a U.S. problem. It's an international problem. And we're giving a lot of money and a lot of food and a lot of everything. If we weren't there, I think people would have starved, frankly. They would have starved. And it's not like they're eating well. But a lot of that food is getting stolen by Hamas. You know, they're stealing the food. They're stealing a lot of things. You ship it in and they steal it. Then they sell it.
On Friday you said that Europe is being crushed by mass migration, and I wonder whether your friends on the inside of the room agree with you on that.
Well, I'd let you respond to that if you'd like.
So we have been working intensively on the topic of irregular migration. And we have, from the very beginning, said that migration is a European challenge that needs a European answer. As Europeans, we will fulfill our international obligations, as we've done in the past, also in the future. But we, as Europeans, are the ones who decide who comes to the European Union and under what circumstances, and not the smugglers and traffickers. That's the principle in which we are working.
I will say this, you know, they did ask me when I got off the plane, immigration, Europe has a tremendous problem, and we do too, but we've sealed our borders. We have nobody coming in, and we have hundreds of thousands of people being taken out, and the bad ones first, and I think we're doing a very good job of that. But we had, I mean, it literally registered 0 people last month. You probably saw that, nobody. And Europe has a very similar problem. I think they're going to end up in the same place. You might as well go there quicker. And the other thing I say to Europe, we will not allow a windmill to be built in the United States. They're killing us. They're killing the beauty of our scenery, our valleys, our beautiful plains. And I'm not talking about airplanes. I'm talking about beautiful plains, beautiful areas in the United States. And you look up, and you see windmills all over the place. It's a horrible thing. It's the most expensive form of energy. It's no good. They're made in China, almost all of them. When they start to rust and rot in 8 years, you can't really turn them off. You can't bury them. They won't let you bury the propellers, you know, the props, because there's a certain type of fiber that doesn't go well with the land. That's what they say. The environmentalists say you can't bury them because the fiber doesn't go well with the land. In other words, if you bury it, it will harm our soil. The whole thing is a con job. It's very expensive. And in all fairness, Germany tried it, and wind doesn't work. You need subsidy for wind, and energy should not need subsidy. With energy, you make money. You don't lose money. But more important than that is it ruins the landscape. It kills the birds. They're noisy. You know, you have a certain place in the Massachusetts area that over the last 20 years had 1 or 2 whales wash ashore, and over the last short period of time, they had 18, okay? Because it's driving them loco. It's driving them crazy. Now, windmills will not come. It's not going to happen in the United States, and it's very expensive, and I would love to see. I mean, today I'm playing the best course, I think, in the world, Turnberry. Even though I own it, it's probably the best course in the world, right? And I look over the horizon and I see 9 windmills. It's like right at the end of the 18th. I said, isn't that a shame? What a shame. You have the same thing all over Europe in particular. You have windmills all over the place. Some of the countries prohibit it, but people ought to know that these windmills are very destructive. They're environmentally unsound, just the exact opposite. Because the environmentalists, they're not really environmentalists. They're political hacks. These are people that they almost want to harm the country. But you look at these beautiful landscapes all over the world. Many countries have gotten smart. They will not allow it. They will not. It's the worst form of energy, the most expensive form of energy. But windmills should not be allowed. Okay.
Cambodia and Thailand. You spoke to leaders of both countries.
I did.
Are they doing enough to stop the fire?
I hope so. You're talking about Cambodia and Thailand? So I had an interesting time. We're dealing with Thailand, and we do a lot of trade with Thailand and with Cambodia. And yet, I'm reading that they're killing each other, you know, they're fighting, they're in a war. And I say, this should be an easy one for me, because I've settled with India and Pakistan, and Serbia and Kosovo was going at it, you know, but they have for a long time, in all fairness, you know about that. And others, the Congo, and you know what's gone on there. That's been a horrible thing with Rwanda. That's been a horrible thing. 31 years, 7 million, 8 million people killed. Machetes all over the place. It's a terrible thing. We got that one solved. We did 5 of them. And I was saying, you know, we have a trade deal. We were working on another. We finalized another trade deal yesterday. And I asked my people, I said, how are we doing with Cambodia and how are we doing with Thailand? And they say they're going to be coming in at some point to talk. I said, well, let's call them right now. So I called the prime ministers of each. And I said, we're not going to make a trade deal unless you settle the war. A lot of people are killed, you know that, in a short period of time. The border, they're fighting pretty like wild. And I spoke to both of the prime ministers, and I think by the time I got off, I think they want to settle now. I know they're meeting today or tomorrow, and we're going to work with them. Marco Rubio's working with him also, his people, and him. I think we're going to get that. That would be a great thing, but that would have turned out to be a bad one. And I will tell you, India and Pakistan, they were really getting ready to go at it. So getting those things settled, if I can do it, and if I can use trade to do that, it's my honor. But I had great talks with two very good people that they both really would like to make a deal. So we'll see what happens. Okay, how about one more, two more?
Mr. President, Europe's now spending a lot more on defence thanks to you. Does that
They
mean
are.
Should they get a fairer deal on trade and exchange?
Well, they're spending a lot on defense, but we're spending a lot more. And we've been very generous to NATO for many, many years. And but we had a terrific meeting with NATO. I'd love to do as well. We had a meeting where they put up 5% instead of 2%, and they're going to pay it instead of not paying, because as you know, many people didn't pay the 2% or anywhere near it, and the 2% was too low. And we're going to be sending now military equipment and other equipment to NATO, and they'll be doing what they want, but I guess for the most part working with Ukraine. But we had a fantastic meeting. I guess it's now almost 4 weeks ago. One of the best meetings they've ever had at NATO, and the spirit and the coming together was incredible. And I stood and I listened to almost 30 speeches. That was a lot. And I was really late, and I had to leave, but I didn't want to leave before those last 10 spoke, because they'd go home and they'd tell their wife, Trump left. And they were so nice to the United States. They were all mentioning the United States, and me, but they were mentioning the United States, to be here. It's such an honor, et cetera. And I thought it would have been inappropriate. But I did stay. It was very hard because I was extremely late for something else that was, pretty important. And we had a tremendous NATO meeting. I'm sure you heard that too. Yep. It was great. There's some great people that you deal with on two fronts, right? But you deal with on primarily the trade front. But I will tell you, they came together, and the relationship is really good. That was it's an interesting question, because you probably have reported it that way. It really, we came together, and they went from 2% to 5%, which nobody would have thought that was even, who would even think that? Because they didn't want to be at 2%. All of a sudden, they're 5%. And that's the right number. And so it was a great honor. I got to know the heads of those countries really very well at that meeting almost a month ago. Okay? Thank you very much, everybody. We'll let you know what's happening.
Will you be visiting your Irish golf course anytime soon, Doonbeg?
I will. I love Doonbeg. I'll go. It's not in the Strip, but I'll go soon. Okay? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Everybody, we've just completed what many are saying is the most successful. What was that noise? That must have been Elon. Was that it?
Bobby's phone was quacking.
Strange. That's all right. We've just completed what many consider to be the most successful first 100 days of any administration in the history of our country, and we're just getting started. Things are happening that are amazing, and I would not say it if it weren't fact. In a few short weeks, we've achieved the most secure border in American history by far, 99.9%, which is a number that nobody thought was doable. Biden thought you had to go back to the legislature to get legislation passed in order to create a secure border. You didn't. You just had to have the right president and the right people working it. Congratulations, by the way, and to Tom. For 2 months in a row, we have set the all-time records for the lowest number of illegal border crossings ever recorded. The number of illegal border crossers released into the United States is down 99.999%. That is usually 100%. So I think it's an amazing tribute, and Christy, congratulations, and Tom and everybody else. It's an amazing job, actually, and it was done very quickly. We officially designated Tren de Aragua, MS-13, and the Mexican drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, and we're expelling these monsters from our country rapidly. and working with the Department of Justice. Pam, you're doing fantastic. Your people are amazing. We're having some judge problems. Everybody's reading. We're having some judges that don't like, killers, murderers being thrown out of the country. So I don't know what their problem is, but we have little difficulty. We won on the basis of a great border and of getting criminals out of our country. That was why we won every swing state. We won by millions of votes. We won everything. Every metric we won by a lot. It was a massive victory, and we won, I think, largely because of this issue. I put this issue as #1 issue, and they don't want us to do what we're supposed to do, and I don't think that can be. And I hope the Supreme Court is going to fully understand what's going on. We have to get the criminals out of our country, and that's the basis under which we won the election. Core GDP, and this is, you probably saw some numbers today, and I have to start off by saying that's Biden. That's not Trump, because we came in on January, this is quarterly numbers, and we came in and I was very against everything that Biden was doing in terms of the economy, destroying our country in so many ways, not only at the border was more obvious, but we took over his mess in so many different ways. Core GDP, removing distortions from imports, inventories, and government spending, was up plus 3% when you add it. We had numbers that despite what we were handed, we turned them around, and we were getting them really turned around. Gross domestic investment was a whopping 22%. Now, that is a number that people are coming in at numbers. For instance, I just walked in, I heard Samsung is now, because of the tariffs, they're going to build massive facilities in the United States. If we didn't do the tariffs, they wouldn't be doing that. So it takes a little while to get those facilities built, but they're coming in with big numbers. They're all coming in with big numbers. We have more money being spent than at any time in the history of our country. We're up to close to $8 trillion, I think I can say. And really, it's going to be a lot higher than that. Those are just the ones that we know about. 8 trillion. I'm not going to say, but I'm not sure if Biden did $1 trillion for 4 years, 1 trillion. But we're at 8 trillion for 2 months, because let's give us a pass on the first month. We were sort of getting a little bit used to things, right? But after 2 months, we have $8 trillion. There's never been a number like that. And that includes chip companies, car companies, every form of manufacturing, high-tech companies. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. So $8 trillion. I can talk about gross domestic product, gross domestic investment. I can talk about a lot of things, but to me, the biggest numbers, the kind of numbers that are, and these people are coming in. Our Secretary of Commerce spent the weekend, he went down to Arizona to see what was happening with the biggest chip company in the world. And he said, Howard, you've never seen anything like it. You want to just describe what you saw?
So they're investing $165 billion in 1,100 acres in Arizona, and they're building the highest tech chip manufacturing, semiconductors, and 4,000 employees. American tradecraft, right? Technicians doing every kind of work. The classic foundation of America is building it. They had 14,000 people. They're expecting 40,000 people to build the rest of their plants and to employ 20,000 people for the rest of the time.
And
this is all driven.
You never saw a site like that.
And this is all driven by your tariff policies. No chance this be happening without you.
It's going to be about 40% of the chip market from that one section, and this is the biggest chip maker. They have 99% of the market. They come from Taiwan, and unlike the CHIP Act, which was done by Biden, where they hand everybody billions of dollars, the thing they don't need is money. They got plenty of money. What they need is an incentive to come in, and the tariffs, they're building because of the tariffs. Without the tariffs, and I'd like to say they're building because of November 5th, the election, and the tariffs, but I'm going to be a little more blunt. They're building because of the tariffs, and November 5th gave them the tariffs. So it's amazing when you look. And these are not companies that go out and say, well, we're going to build, we have to go get our financing. Let's go. Like we would, in New York, everybody would look, you'd get a building site, and then you'd look around for money, you'd look around for financing for 6 months, you'd get your financing. you'd build your building, the market would be good, you'd make money, the market would be bad, it wouldn't be so pretty, you'd have to negotiate, blah, blah, blah. This is different. These people have so much money, they don't know what to do. I asked Howard, did they finance it? No, they do it through cash. And they say that site, and they just started, they just announced it like a month ago, and they've already started. He said, I've never seen a site like it, so big. So, you're talking about essentially a $50 billion building. Now, if you build a warehouse for $50 million, that's a big warehouse, Scott. But a $50 billion building, that's a lot. They're building the electric, they've become a utility. And I've given them the right to become. They're going to build their own electric, they're going to build their own electricity, which they need tremendous amounts of electricity. They're going to build it themselves. Anything they have left over, they'll hook that into the grid. But the grid is old and they're unreliable and bad things can happen to grids. I said, if you want, you can hook into the grid, but that's a little bit risky. Or you can build your own electricity and become your own utility. And they, I think in all cases, are deciding to do that. So it's very exciting, and we have a lot of things going. We took over on January 20th. These are quarterly reports. We took over on January 20th. The tariffs haven't kicked in yet. I know that, and I don't want this to happen, but I know that China is doing very poorly right now. I just saw some reports coming out, and I don't want that to happen to China. I like the president a lot, President Xi. I don't want it to happen. I was actually saddened to hear it, but they are getting absolutely hammered in China. And, they're sending boats, the biggest boats in the world, carrying cargo like nobody's ever seen before. These are the biggest boats in the world, biggest cargo ships in the world. And they're coming and they're turning around in the Pacific Ocean. They're doing a big U-turn and going back because they don't want the goods, because 145% tariff. But at a certain point, I hope we're going to make a deal with China. We're talking to China, but their factories are closing all over China because we're not taking their product. We don't want their product unless they're going to be fair with us. And that includes intellectual property and other things. There are a lot of things far beyond just buy, sell. So we'll see what happens. But, I was not, because somebody said, well, were you happy? I said, I am not happy. I want China to do well. I want every country to do well. But they have to treat us fairly also. So with that, I think we're going to maybe go around, and we have some letters where the secretaries and people around the table are making statements about how they're doing and what's happening. And I could start with Pete on the left, because he's my least controversial person at the table. No, they don't know how good he is. So we'll go around the table and you can hear it. And these are cabinet meetings where they're very open and transparent. And I can guarantee you Biden didn't do this. He didn't do this. Go ahead, Pete.
Well, Mr. President, I think we're controversial because we're over the target. And like so many things, Mr. President, you inherited a demoralized military that couldn't recruit, that was perceived as weak after what happened in Afghanistan and elsewhere because of Joe Biden. And what we have seen since your election and the inauguration has been nothing short of a recruiting renaissance.
It's true.
Decades, it hasn't been decades since we've seen this kind of recruiting in the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Air Force. The men and women of America want to join the United States military led by President Donald Trump.
And the police, by the way.
Absolutely.
And fire. I always mention the fire, but the police and fire, likewise they have waiting lists now, and 6 months ago it was a disaster.
Truly historic. We can barely absorb the volume and retention as well. Men and women in the military who don't want to get out now that they have a real commander-in-chief. We're reinforcing standards. We're going to be fit, not fat, in our formations. We welcome back all the folks that were forced out because of the COVID mandate. We've ripped wokeness out of the military, sir, DEI, trans, and it's Fort Benning and Fort Bragg again at the DOD. We're rebuilding the military, sir. The Golden Dome is well underway. F-47, reassuring allies and deterring enemies. We found nearly $6 billion in DOGE savings that we're going to reinvest, including $50 billion from the Biden administration focused on things like climate that have nothing to do with lethality and warfighting. And we will have, as you said, sir, the first $1 trillion budget that we plan to spend wisely on behalf of our warfighters. From day one, sir, we've helped get 100% operational control of the border, coming alongside DHS and CBP. We've got 11,000 troops on the border who now, because of the new national defense area, sir, can help detain illegals at the border and hand them over to CBP. It used to be if you saw camouflage on the border, they could hold binoculars, and that's it. Now we can detain and assist, and we're going to get 100% operational control of that border. Our NATO allies know they have to step up. The Houthis in the Middle East are feeling the weight of American power, and we're deterring communist China. So because of your leadership, sir, I believe we're making the military great again, and I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Howard?
So I have the pleasure of running the Investment Accelerator, which gets to recruit these companies. And you've never seen anything like the companies committed to building in America. Technology companies have committed over $2.5 trillion to build in America based on your tariffs, right? Sovereign countries, all backing, the whole Middle East and all these countries backing their sovereign wealth funds. They all want to invest in America, and they're coming in, again, over $3 trillion committed. So just those two topics, you're at $5.5 trillion, and then you've got the whole pharma industry knows it's got to come home because America pays for all the drugs of the world. So the pharmaceuticals have to come home, right? Autos coming home, industrials coming home. So, we've got to train, and your great Secretary of Labor together and Secretary of Education together, we're going to train the workforce to build America. It's unbelievable. We've got so much, as I travel around, the attention on the Trump Gold Card. I mean, it makes me very popular. Last night, I was out to dinner, and someone came up and said, can I buy 10? And how do I buy 10? And I'm like, that's pretty good. It's $50 million for dinner. So, I was paying for my dinner. The External Revenue Service, right? You've got the tariffs and the hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars coming in to build the External Revenue Service. That our objective, of course, is to replace the Internal Revenue Service and let those outside countries trading with us, let them pay their fair share to America. And then, of course, you got rid of de minimis. And what happened is these foreign countries were sending in little packages for free and knocking out our mom and pop businesses across America. You put an end to it, and you're going to rebuild the mom and pop and the small business of America. You're their president, and I'm proud to support you.
It's very important. De minimis. It's a big deal. It's a big scam going on against our country, against really small businesses, and we put an end to it.
Mr. President, so CAFE standards, we have the fuel economy standards on vehicles that are going to go to 50 miles per gallon. We are going to rewrite those standards, bring it down to something that's far more reasonable. Elon's fine with that, I hope. But it's going to drive down. It's going to drive down the price of a car in America, making cars more affordable for families. Also, Biden had the social cost of credit when we build infrastructure, roads and bridges, adding 3 to 5% on infrastructure costs. We've gotten rid of the social cost of carbon, driving down the cost to build roads and bridges across the country. We have what is called follow the law. So we have so many states and municipalities that don't follow the law. So whether it's DEI, discriminating against Americans, whether they give illegals driver's license, or their sanctuary cities or states, if you don't follow the law, if you're giving license to illegals, if you're having DEI policies, we're not going to fund your projects. So you got to certify in your state or in your city to get road and bridge money or rail money that you're actually following the law, which includes the executive orders from you, Mr. President. We're cutting back funding. We send research money, Mr. President, to universities to do research on more equitable and sustainable transportation systems. Projects that'll use data and public opinion to inform policy and infrastructure and technology benefiting diverse communities, including women and gender non-conforming people. Just stupid wastes of money. We're pulling that money back from universities. We should do good research if we're doing research in universities. And then one last thing, air traffic control. We don't have enough air traffic controllers. We're about 3,000 short. We're working on an agreement with the union, so when controllers become retirement eligible, we're going to cut a deal to try to get them to stay longer, to stay in the tower. And then we have a plan to put more butts in seats in Oklahoma City. so we can get more students through the academy and into towers as well. It's going to take us a while to do that, to train them up, but we're in the process before our 4 years are done. Well before that, we're going to be at full capacity.
Sean, do you want to tell them about, I think we have to bring it up, we have very obsolete equipment for air traffic controllers. The equipment, the towers have horrible equipment. It's been renovated for years. The money they spent over the last 4 years, this Buttigieg did a horrible job. They wasted billions and billions of dollars hooking up wire equipment to non-wire equipment to satellite equipment, and a third grade student would know it doesn't work. You can't work it. They wasted tens of billions of dollars. But we want to put a brand new air traffic control system in, and you might want to describe that, please.
You and I have talked about this. It's a state-of-the-art system, envy of the world, and it's. I mean, listen. Our system is safe, but you would have hoped someone would have seen that there's a problem with fixed-wing aircraft and helicopters coming in at DCA. Someone should have seen that before we lost almost 70 lives. It's our job to look and see that we have an aging infrastructure around air traffic control. And so if we don't build a brand new system, there's going to be failures and people will lose their lives. And so we need the help of Congress to help fund this, but it's going to be all brand new. And after you build a brand new system, we have the bedrock and the foundation to actually build on top of it. But no one has done this, Mr. President. There's Band-Aid fixes that have happened over the course of 20 years. You can't have a Band-Aid fix. It doesn't get done. It has to be brand new. The technology, it looks like it's out of a 1980s movie. Old computers, floppy disks. We're using copper wires, not fiber. So there are great solutions we have available that, and by the way, if everyone's sick of their delayed flights or their canceled flights, we have more capacity in the airspace. And if we build this brand new system, what you'll have is more efficiency in the airspace, and it will be safer. So the economy will be stronger. We can have more flights and less delays. So I appreciate your support on that, Mr. President.
Rebuilding that is very important. You wouldn't have had the helicopter crashing into the plane at 400 feet up when it's supposed to be 200 feet. That would have, bells and whistles would have been gone over, and you would have heard the screaming equipment saying there's a problem coming up in 15 seconds. You got to do something about it right now. And it would have also sent the word right into the helicopter, because I guess you'll be doing the full report on that. But it was pretty obvious what happened. Right. And they were supposed to be at 200 feet. They were at 400 feet, and a terrible thing. And that wouldn't have happened if we had the right equipment. If we had the right equipment, you would have heard bells and whistles going off, and it would have alerted them long before that would have happened. 2 minutes before, it would have had a lot of time. So we have to do this. We have no choice, and we're going to do it. We're going to be very proud of it. They did old equipment in new equipment, and you can't hook in old equipment to new equipment because it's different. Some is satellite and some is ground. The satellite doesn't work. This man would know that better than anybody, but you can't hook up a satellite system to a ground wired system. And if you do, you're wasting a lot of money. They spend billions. This is Buttigieg. They spent billions and billions of dollars trying to patch a system together. They had hundreds of different contractors, and the contractors were all fighting with each other. We're going to have one great big contractor, like the great big beautiful bill, which is going along very well. I guess I like great big beautiful, but we're going to have one great big beautiful contractor, whether it's maybe Raytheon, maybe IBM, maybe it could be any one of 4 or 5 different groups, but you put one in charge. They're very big, very powerful monetarily, and they give you a guarantee, and they hook up everything. They do every single thing. So they're responsible for the digging of the ditches and the fiber and every single element. And it's one system that's hooked in. It's not all these hodgepodge systems that don't work together, and it's just a shame. I mean, it's basic construction, but it's complex stuff, and there are a few companies that do it unbelievably well, and we're going to have that. So, good job, Sean. I know that's your big project.
And Mr. President, no one has done it because it is complex. It's hard to do because as you're building a brand new system, you have planes taking off and landing, and so because it's complex, no one has done it. And you've given the directive and the support to make this happen. So
well, ours is going to be an all-new system. It's going to all hook up. It's going to be the same tower is going to have the same equipment and all towers all over the country, all over the world actually, mostly, are going to be hooked in together. And when there's a problem, when planes are too close, you will hear a sound that's very ear-shattering, and I've heard it, and it's amazing. I mean, honestly, it's amazing. It's real genius stuff, and we didn't do that. What we did was just waste money. You could have just thrown it right out the window. What they did in this last 4 years was disgraceful. Whether it was the border or this, you can name 100 different things. The worst administration ever. Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Secretary, thank you.
Yeah, Mr. President, thank you. And I think one of the things that I want people to understand about the VA is we're part of the national security interests you have, and you've laid the groundwork for that. It's leadership and making sure that with the Secretary of Defense and myself, we take care of veterans on two ends. One when they come in and one when they served and they've earned the benefits that we have. And one of the things is if we're not doing our job on our end, then the recruitment and all goes down on the other end because we have a full spectrum. That's what leadership is about. What we found, and speaking in the last 4 years, is we found an administration that wanted to throw money and people at problems, but they didn't want to put leadership in. They just put money and people at it, and we saw wait times stay the same. We saw issues of suicide rates, death by suicide, not change. We saw a homelessness issue barely go down. We saw disability claims skyrocket when you took place, over 250,000 back dislodged, which we're already bringing down almost 40,000 so far just in the last couple of months. But we've also put back what you, and I was in Congress when this happened, and I was glad to see it. The Mission Act is back front and center at the VA. We're actually doing community care. We're actually giving the veteran the choice that they've earned and they've deserved, whether they can get their VA care inside our facilities or in the community. It's their choice. It's VA care. We're going to give them the highest quality care wherever they want to go. Also, we're expanding out options for treatments and others for those that are new. We're experimenting and looking at new counseling ideas, all new drug techniques that we can help with PTSD, TBI, the things that are affecting our veterans right now. But also we've taken the leadership to take people and bring them back into work where they're actually communicating. They're back in our offices. We put thousands of people back in. We're processing more claims daily than we were in the last little bit, hit 1 million before has ever happened, and we're actually bringing it down. And I've actually taken our deputy secretary, and he is actually having a strike force now to bring down that disability claim, plus our regular work that we're having done. We've also taken almost $300+ million and taken it out of contracts that we've all heard about so far. We were doing contracts for meeting notes and PowerPoints. And if our folks didn't know how to do meeting notes and PowerPoint, go online and learn yourself. We're not going to pay for it anymore. And we took $360 million and put it back into community care and also our health records management system that we have. We've opened 6 new facilities just in the last little bit so all the media who wants to talk about how we're hurting healthcare, we just opened 6 new facilities. By the way, thank you, you're welcome. As we go from that, we've continued. We've also took $11.6 billion in ceiling values of contracts and terminated that we did not need, resulting in significant cost avoidance for the future, but also still maintaining the ability to take care of our patients and also our disability benefits. We've also gotten unity again. We did away with $14 million in DEI spending. We've ended gender dysphoria treatments. We phased that out. All directed, the savings from that go to paralyzed veterans and amputees. We've also continued to work toward, as you've, in anti-Semitism and also anti-Christian bias that we saw. The biggest thing though, Mr. President, I want to state, is you told me when you said for me to take this job, you said take care of my veterans. Well, we've done something in taking that step forward. The veteran is back first at the VA. The VA is not about itself anymore. We're not a self-feeding animal. It's about a service organization that takes care of one of the best we have, and that's our veterans. And that, Mr. President, we're just getting started.
Thank you, Doug. How are you doing with the suicide rates?
We're getting, it's tough, Mr. President. That's something that we're looking at. This is something that we've had $588 million has been spent over the last, especially 4 or 5 years to be prevention, and yet the numbers stayed at 17 or 21, wherever you want to have it. We're now opening that back up, taking in nonprofits. We're bringing in others who have things that are actually looking at. I've worked with Secretary Kennedy and others on the idea of we're opening up the possibility of psychedelic treatment and others that give us an opportunity. We got to research it, make sure it's good, but it's opening up that possibility. And I think, again, veterans are understanding now that we're putting them first. When I go to these hospitals, they're actually coming up saying thanks. We're back in where we need to be, and we're seeing a workforce develop. So suicide is going to come down. It's also going to take some transition stuff that your Secretary of Defense has been very helpful on. We've got to transfer them out of the military so they come to us better, but we're working on that.
Good. Very good. Thank you. Jameson?
Mr. President, it may come as a surprise, but this has been the busiest 100 days in the history of the
By the way, in history. You know, this is the biggest deal ever done. If you sold IBM, ExxonMobil, and 5 other companies together, it's peanuts compared to what we're doing. This is the biggest deal ever done financially in the history of the world. And I think we're doing great. You're going to see some big, big results. Go ahead.
And I'll just say something that Secretary Duffy said in his context, because it's complex, no one has done it. So this is something, a reordering of global trade that hasn't happened since the end of World War II. And it's long overdue because we've seen manufacturing offshore under the old global trading system with the net result of the global trading system that all the manufacturing goes to Asia and other places. That's a system you have to replace. That's what you're doing. They said you wouldn't be able to do global tariffs. We did it. They said everyone would retaliate. No one retaliated outside of China. They said no one would come to negotiate. We're talking to dozens of countries. They said no one would have offers. We have dozens of written offers. We have lots of countries in this week. This is like a break for me to come.
You have the list. You have the list of with all the countries that want to negotiate.
Sure.
They all
So
want to
this
negotiate.
is,
They want to make a deal.
don't zoom in on this. Yeah, this is like a tracker, right? We have all these columns of which countries have come in, when we started negotiations, who gave us an offer, are we in technical talks, and when do we expect to have deals done? Those are some weeks out, but we're working very quickly on this. Thanks to you.
Thank you, Jameson. You're going to have a lot of fun for the next 3 weeks.
Fun. It will be fun.
Yep. Mr. President, the last 4 years, the world experienced a total lack of zero leadership under Biden, and then we've had 100 days of your leadership with respect, with strength, starting with they'll be all hell to pay if you don't let our people go. Dozens, over 40 Americans have come home under your leadership. Far more terrorists are no longer threatening the homeland under your leadership, pulling all of these agencies together, including the evil individual responsible for the Abbey Gate bombing, and to sit with the 13 Gold Star families, and you showing that follow-up and that justice has been incredible. But pulling this great team together, Mr. President, everything from revitalizing shipyards to cyber to space, that takes this entire team working together. It's an honor to serve you in this administration, and I think the world is far better, far safer for it. Amen.
Thank you very much. The Abbey Gate is really important. This was a horrible thing. Destroyed the image, frankly, of the Biden administration. What happened there was a disgrace. It should have never happened, and Pam is working very much on prosecuting that person. We have the person, and he'll do well. I have no doubt about it. Thank you very much, Michael. So the CIA, I don't know, Ratcliffe, I don't know if he's going to say anything. He's probably the one person here that's not allowed to talk about the great job he's done, but go ahead anyway.
Mr. President, as you know, at your direction, the CIA has deployed our unique covert action authorities in various places and continents to successfully advance your national security and foreign policy priorities, to advance peace, to end wars, to take terrorists off the battlefield, and to keep illicit drugs from coming into this country and harming Americans. Unfortunately, as much as I would love to detail your accomplishments in that regard, we can't do so in front of this crowd. But you and I both know, Mr. President, that you have had a profound positive impact on America's national security posture, and Americans are safer because of your leadership. What I can talk about publicly is, as has been mentioned, the CIA provided the intelligence that led to the apprehension of the Abbey Gate bomber, who is now being prosecuted by our great Attorney General and providing a measure of justice to those 13 families that suffered as a result of that disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal during the last administration. In addition, at your direction, Mr. President, the CIA has negotiated and secured the release of Americans like Mark Fogel and Ksenia Karolina, who have been wrongfully detained, sending the message that you will forget about no Americans that are being held in other places unfairly and unjustly. And finally, Mr. President, the CIA is being restructured at your direction to focus on our core mission and to eliminate the well-documented politicization that has taken place in the intelligence community from bad actors in the past to focus on our core mission and to make America safe again. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. President.
Good job. You're doing a great job. Thank you very much. Russell?
We're obviously involved in a number of budget bills that are moving, trying to make sure all of your priorities are reflected in the reconciliation, working on our upcoming budget. Wonderful job by the entire cabinet on that front. Details soon on that front. Sending up precision bills to Congress for things that Elon has found. But the regulatory aspect is something we don't talk about enough. And right now you've given us a goal of 10 for 1. We are working right now with all of the agencies to rack up how big of a deregulatory agenda that we can have. When you came into office, you basically stopped $200 billion in costs to American families just by stopping the Biden regulatory agenda. That's about $2,000 per family. We think when we're going to hit these 10 for 1 goals that we could be in the neighborhood of about $900 billion in savings to American families that would be substantially bigger than that $2,000 number. And the point that I would make, in addition to just savings cheaper to the American people, there's an aspect of wisdom when you're enforcing these rules that comes into play. And I'm your regulator for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and we found this small mortgage lender in Chicago. His name is Barry Sterner. He had a firm called Townstone, and CFPB had gone after him because he complained about crime in Chicago, literally the same thing that the Democrat mayor had talked about, and they came after him for 7 years on a redlining disparate impact claim and ruined his life. We overturned that. We apologized on your behalf to that individual, and we basically, without having to go through notice and comment, we ended the policy that set that in motion. And so that's happening across these agencies with how they are using their enforcement discretion, and it will only continue based on the stonewall of backing that you've given us to make these hard calls. I don't think they're actually that hard, but no one's done it to this point, and we were able to go forward and do that because of the backing that you've given us.
So maybe the biggest thing we're working on, maybe bigger than tariffs in a certain sense, is we call it the One Big Beautiful Bill. And that's wielding its way right now through the Senate. And John Thune has been actually amazing. And the Speaker has been so great, Congress. Mike Johnson has been really two guys that they get along great, and it's just been a beautiful, unified attack, really, because we have to attack because the Democrats are trying to stop it at every turn. It would mean a 58% tax hike if they were successful, and lots of other bad things beyond the tax hike. But with us, it'll be the biggest tax cut in American history. How are we doing with the bill?
We're doing great. We're day in, day out, hour by hour negotiations to make sure your stuff is in there, and to make sure we have the border resources, the defense resources, and to save the American people some tax money and make sure all those tax cuts that you ran on are in there that help get people back into the workforce. And I think we're making a ton of progress.
I think we're doing well. Like I said, the biggest tax cut in the history of our country. And it would be the biggest tax increase if the Democrats are successful. They're the only people I've ever seen running for office where they want to increase taxes, but this would be a 58, maybe a 60% tax increase, unsustainable for the American people. Thank you very much. Great job. Susie, the most powerful woman in the world, they say. I agree with that. I agree.
I'll be brief so you can hear from these amazing people. Congratulations to everyone on 100 days. That's been it's unparalleled in my memory, and best I can tell, ever. But it hasn't been busy for busy's sake. The president's promises made to the American people have been kept time and time and time again. You all have been out there spreading the word with community groups and states and media. It hasn't gone unnoticed, and let's work hard for the next 100 and have equally as much success then. Thank you.
And you're doing a great job, Susie.
Yeah.
I think everybody agrees, right?
Yeah.
We have Do we have anybody that disagrees, please? In front of the media. In front of the media. Please raise your hand if you have the courage to do so. Anyway, go ahead.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Thank you. And you made it very clear that you wanted to put America first. And also from day one, you wanted to make housing affordable again, because we do have a housing affordability crisis in our country. And so at HUD, we've been cutting all the red tape and bureaucracy as it pertains to housing affordability and unleashing creativity of our builders and developers around our country and restoring local control. We took down the affirmatively furthering fair housing rule, as you know, which was a zoning tax from Washington. So no longer will Washington be picking winners and losers, but localities and elected officials in different states and cities will have that flexibility. Also, you alluded to securing the border, and such a great job has been done with all of our partners at the table. And at HUD, we want to make sure that the resources that we have now, which is American taxpayer dollars, in the Biden administration, they prioritize illegal aliens over the American people. And so we signed an MOU with Secretary Noem at DHS to make sure that HUD-funded housing only goes to American citizens and no longer will it go to illegal aliens coming across our border. We have about 9 million people living in subsidized housing in our country. 59% of illegal alien families use some sort of welfare program, costing us $42 billion a year. And so we have prioritized American and American people only to live in HUD-funded housing. And also to make housing affordable, we also signed a partnership with Secretary Burgum at DOI to use underutilized federal lands, as you campaigned on and promised, to identify those lands to build affordable housing in our country so that people can realize the American dream. We also restored biological truth, as you did in sports. We have the equal access rule at HUD, which we took that rule down to ensure that at women shelters, that those that enter those shelters would be of the same sex, and that we would protect the ladies of our country. No longer will those that identify as women but are not women be able to enter our shelter, so that we can protect the ladies that we serve. Along with our DOGE task force, we identified over $2 billion in savings at HUD. $260 million at HUD were just in contracts, $4 million were DEI. And so we took those contracts down and de-obligated and sent back $1.9 billion back to the Treasury for the American people. Again, we want to be good stewards over the American taxpayer dollars. And so, Mr. President, thank you for your leadership in this. And we have a tremendous team at HUD, and I'm so grateful to be part of this team around this table to take care of the American people. And I consider it a great honor and humble to do so.
Good job.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. Brooke?
Well, I'm not sure if anyone's heard, but the price of eggs is down. I know it's news. Listen, sir, today as we celebrate the 100th day, I think that it's just such a joy and an honor to continue to do this work, so thank you for that. We have been obviously very focused on the cost of groceries, specifically eggs led the way, as you have so eloquently discussed over the last few months, and we're holding tight on a very significant decrease, which is great, and investing where we need to there. As I mentioned before the press came in, we have had a massive issue with Mexico on water, getting water to our farmers along the border for decades. When I worked in Texas 25 years ago, we were fighting with the Mexican government over the water then. You got involved about 2 weeks ago. That evening I started conversations, and as of just a few days ago, thanks to Secretary Rubio's great deputy secretary and I have been negotiating, and we hit the best deal, I believe, in history on behalf of our farmers, and thanks to your leadership and your strength on that. And that's a really big deal long term for those farmers in the southern part of the country. On the energy side, I know we've got Secretary Burgum and his partner Secretary Wright, but we often forget that agriculture has a major piece of the energy dominance agenda, not just timber, not just minerals, but biofuels. So we continue to support that great leadership coming from those agencies and doing hopefully our part as well, and they've been incredible in that. Our farmers have been hurting
Under the Joe Biden administration, there was a 30% increase in the cost of input, so the cost of doing business for these farmers over those 4 years. When we left the White House the first time 4 years ago, we had a $0 trade deficit with our agriculture products. After 4 years of Biden, that hit $50 billion because they just didn't make an effort. And so obviously that's $50 billion less dollars at a time of very thin profitability for our agriculture community. So the Congress passed because the last administration didn't get a farm bill done either, the farmers were hurting there. So Congress stepped in. I say all that and basically said $10 billion to move out. USDA, fastest in history, that money went out to those farmers that couldn't make plant their crops. And so I'm really proud of that, and you'll hear a lot of that from your farmers today, that this USDA is moving more quickly than any ever before. And we're not organizing money based on the color of skin and other ways, which was how the last administration was moving out. We've canceled $6 billion in contracts thanks to our great friend Elon Musk and his Doge team. A lot of those were DEI, gender, studying transgender mice. Who knew? The racism in pest management, we've canceled all of it. We're going through a major restructuring. USDA is one of the biggest agencies. It's sort of a catch-all. And we're really downsizing and aligning around putting farmers first, which is really important. A big part of USDA, though, is food stamps. It is perhaps one of the largest, if not the largest, welfare program. And it's a supplemental nutrition program. Secretary Kennedy and I have been working very closely. We were in Texas yesterday talking about nutrition and agriculture. You can't make America healthy again without your farmers and your ranchers as your partner. So ensuring that our food stamp program and those at the bottom end of the socioeconomic ladder really have access to nutritious foods as we're facing an obesity crisis and a chronic disease crisis, which I'm sure Secretary Kennedy will touch on. And the final thing I'll say is this morning, Secretary Noem and I, together, and I brought a picture because I think this is important and it goes to why we're here. This is a South Dakota ranching family named the Mods. They are a fifth generation ranching family. Charles Mod, in his 30s, bought the ranch from his granddad, I'm going to show the press, when he was 17 years old. Those beautiful children, Lyle and Kennedy, his wife Heather. Under the Biden administration, they had, of their several hundred-acre operation, they used about 20 acres and had a fence that had been there since 1910 when their family took over the ranching operation. There had never been really any problem that had been brought to their attention. Perhaps there was a minor dispute over, again, 20 acres. This family was indicted, prosecuted, threatened with jail time, told to find guardians for their children over a fence line dispute that the Biden DOJ pushed forward. So this morning, on the steps of the U.S. Department of Agriculture with Secretary Noem, who was their governor, as the governor of South Dakota, which is where these great people are from, all criminal charges were dropped, and I really appreciate the Department of Justice. It was a really big day as we sent the signal that the over-criminalization and using government, and you know this better than anyone because you were in the crosshairs for so long, that those days are over and the regulation through prosecution is no more. And so this family is one of many that we'll now be talking to ensure that never happens again.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job. Please, Scott.
Sir, it's been a momentous 100 days with you at the helm, and I view this 100 days as setting the table for peace deals, trade deals, tax deals. So the next 100 days will be harvesting. You've created negotiating leverage and leadership that are going to yield remarkable results. Energy costs have plummeted. Mortgage rates are down, food costs are moving lower, and American families are finding their financial footing again. I had a group in today. America, under your leadership, is on the verge of becoming an AI superpower, that our economy had become barbelled. We had high tech and finance on one side, natural resources led by energy, which the previous administration tried to kill on the other, and you're filling in between with precision manufacturing that we're going to be bringing back through good trade policies, good tax policies. Under the Doge at Treasury and the IRS, cost, tech support, and efficiency have increased. We have the IRS revenues are up, And thanks to the young man sent over by Doge, the IT update that began in 1990, which was begun before he was born, is going to be finished during your term. So trade, you couldn't make it up, trade, taxes, and deregulation, the one big beautiful bill under your leadership. Speaker Johnson and Leader Thune have done a great job, but they have you as a closer on many of their members. And I'll just close by saying economic security is national security is economic security, and it's never been better. We're rebuilding it, and as I said last week at the IMF and World Bank conferences, America first does not mean America alone. Under President Trump, it means leadership.
Yeah. Well said.
Thank you. Are you busy enough? He's doing a great job. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, thank you, and thanks to the cabinet. So at the risk of insulting everybody else at the table, I believe that I am the youngest member sitting at the table. And it occurred to me that from the time that I was born to the time that Donald J. Trump was inaugurated just a few months ago, we went from, again, 40 years, we went from the world's manufacturing superpower to one in which we depend on the People's Republic of China to make the things that we need. We went from the proudest military in the world to one in which we failed to meet our recruiting goals. And we went from one in which bipartisan border policy was the consensus of both Democrats and Republicans to one in which we allowed 20 million people to run roughshod illegally over the countryside, causing crime, causing a stress in the welfare system. And again, that happened over the lifetime of the youngest member of the cabinet. And what has happened in 100 days is that we've started to reverse every single one of those negative trends. And I think what it shows to me is that the president, and you sit in the Oval Office and you see these portraits of presidents past, and let's be honest, most of them have been placeholders. They've been people who have allowed their staff to sign executive orders with an auto pen instead of men of action. And the reason the media attacks this administration as chaotic is because the president is solving the problems the American people set about to solve. He's actually doing the things that he promised that he would do. And Mr. President, it's been an honor to be part of it for the past 100 days. And let me just make one other observation, because it's interesting. I've seen the data, I've monitored it, I've looked at it, but the most underreported fact of the first 100 days is that we came in with a massive recruitment shortfall. And in 100 days of Secretary Hegseth and President Trump's leadership, we now have people breaking down the doors to join our military. To the media assembled here, it's a really interesting question. Why has that happened? Completely aside from the fact that I think it's a good thing, or I think that President Trump deserves political credit for it, why did we go from a military where people didn't want to serve to now all of a sudden they do want to serve? That's a story you guys should cover. But compared to that, how much time have you instead focused on the fact that we deported an MS-13 gang member with a valid deportation order? And why is it that the press is so focused on the fake BS rather than what's really going on in the country? I think that what we've shown, sir, is that you can do a lot. You can do a lot in 100 days, but you've also unfortunately revealed that too much of the American media hasn't learned the lessons of the past 40 years. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Pam? Please.
President, your first 100 days has far exceeded that of any other presidency in this country, ever. Ever. Never seen anything like it. Thank you. Your directive to me was very simple: make America safe. And despite that, we've still been defending over 200 civil lawsuits filed against you. On top of everything else, I think I'm representing every one of you in this room in some capacity. And no, you will not be arrested by the U.S. Marshals. Over 200 lawsuits, over 50 injunctions, and now we've got multiple cases in front of the Supreme Court, and we will succeed, and we are doing great in front of the Supreme Court, President, and we'll continue on with that. I was at DEA yesterday, and they said to me, you, Donald Trump, have taken the handcuffs off of DEA agents. And as a result of, since you have been in office, President Trump, Your DOJ agencies have seized more than 22 million fentanyl pills, 3,400 kilos of fentanyl since you've been your last 100 days, which saved, are you ready for this, media? 258 million lives. Kids are dying every day because they're taking this junk laced with something else. They don't know what they're taking. They think they're buying a Tylenol or an Adderall and a Xanax, and it's laced with fentanyl, and they're dropping dead, and no longer because of you, what you've done. ATF, since you've been in office, President, along with DOJ agencies, seized 14,500 guns off the streets. Why aren't people reporting that? 651,000 rounds of ammo. That's up 151% from 2024. That's keeping America safe. We've rescinded death penalty. We are now seeking the death penalty on cases. I'm signing death warrants. We are going after terrorism. We are going after arsonists. Whether you're burning Teslas, we will see. We've arrested 9 people so far in 7 jurisdictions, no negotiations, 20 years in prison, or you're burning down the governor's mansion in Pennsylvania. We will be there to protect you. And I've been talking to Governor Shapiro, and he greatly appreciated you reaching out as well. ISIS terrorist. We got one in New York, right around the corner. We got an ISIS terrorist in New York. We have an October 7th task force. We just broke up a huge human trafficking ring by the Sinaloa cartel. 1,000 pounds of methamphetamine on our streets. Ton of fentanyl, 20,000 Molly pills. Those are the drug of choice among at clubs and bars for young kids. They were fake, but you know what they had in them? Fentanyl. That's 20,000 lives saved because of you, right there. We brought back 29 cartel members from Mexico at your direction, and one killed the Kiki Camareno, a DEA agent, in 1985, and many of us got to talk to his widow and his son, who is now a judge. And they started crying. They have tried to get that guy back forever, and thanks to so many of you in this room working together, they have justice. They were crying on the phone because of what you did, President Trump. Thank you. We're going after anti-Semitism. We're unleashing everything you told us. No more DEI, no more weaponization. We have rescinded, as I said, 200 policies, and I could go on all day long, but we are doing everything in our power to keep America safe at your direction.
Thank you.
Thank you, President.
You're really doing a great job. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go.
Nice to see you, Mr. President. Well, first of all, I think what you've heard amongst this team is the leadership, because it's given us the latitude really to collaborate amongst each other, not only in this room, as Jameson mentioned, we kind of get a break for a couple of hours here, but we stay in contact actually every other day that we're working for you. And I think what that says is, I was speaking to, for instance, the Farm Bureau of Texas yesterday. I'm not the Ag Secretary, but it matters to the workforce. I'm working with the other secretaries, Lutnick and McMahon, on education and the workforce investments that you've asked me to do. Because as you've come in and negotiated these great repatriation of these companies and the investments, we're going to need that workforce to build back this economy. And I couldn't see that more as I've kicked off my 50-state tour. We've been in 5 states so far. We'll finish all 50 states by the end of the year. And what we're talking to is the American workforce and these companies about what the market demand is. That's the difference, that we finally have made that connection. What do they need? How quick do they need it? And how fast can I get these either apprenticeships toward that million that we've put that lofty goal? We've already added 80,000 new apprenticeships already just since January. So at the Department of Labor, that tour is kicked off, and I couldn't be more honored to be on the ground and see my colleagues that we're passing in the skies, but we're on the ground together because we're all collaborating together. One of the things that we're talking about, illegal immigration, I have put states on notice. I warned all 50 governors that if they continue to reward illegal immigration by treating unemployment benefits as a handout, they're going to lose their federal funding as well. We can no longer continue to give unemployment insurance to illegal immigrants, and so I've let those governors, and I sent out that letter last week. We also eliminated discriminatory DEI offices within the department, specifically the Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs. Most of our federal contracts were really just to focus on DEI enforcement. We were really punishing a lot of these companies. If they weren't complying, they weren't going to have a federal contract. We've let go of that program completely. $4.4 billion in unspent COVID funds came back to the Treasury from the CARES Act. Billions were collecting dust in these coffers, in the state coffers. We've asked for that money back to return to the Department of Treasury. We saved $250 million by canceling America Last, is what I call it, foreign handouts, including funding for things like transparency and accountability for Uzbekistan cotton industry. It doesn't make sense that we're funding, these foreign, and thank you to DOJ and to the government efficiency, what we have found with the fraud that we're seeing.
I mean, some of these things are so ridiculous, you can't believe it.
No, I write them down and I read them more than once.
Cotton
Like this
farmers?
county trip. Yeah, it doesn't
It
make
sounds like
sense.
a comedy sketch.
That's right. And so again, with the executive order preparing Americans for high-paying, skilled trade jobs of the future, that's our goal. The trades is where we're being focused, but all companies, and we want to make sure we're on hand for that. And what I want to say is thank you to government efficiency, because you asked us, when this transitions out, will our departments and our agencies continue that government efficiency? And I think that we've surpassed that in the Department of Labor. Out of our 14,000 federal employees, 3,000 have taken the DRP, and we offered it again. So over 21% have taken that offer. And we'll keep our critical workforce, MSHA, OSHA, and wage and hour, and make sure our workers stay safe. So with your leadership, Mr. President, I couldn't be more honored to serve. I know we were probably the last to know each other, but we're getting to know each other well. And the team that you have assembled is really an honor to serve with. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. You're doing great. Thank you very much. Chris, please.
Mr. President, you ran on unleashing American energy. And 100 days have shown the tremendous impacts that can arise from the unleashing you have enabled. I'll just hit a few highlights. Number one, oil, gasoline, and diesel prices are the lowest they've been in years. How does that happen in 100 days? That's a messaging. Your message that we're pro-energy. We're not against energy, we're for it. That sends a message to the marketplace that supply is easier to grow now and supply will be coming. And that's already led to tremendous savings for American consumers across the country. And we need not only more affordable energy, but we need a lot more energy. One highlight I think a couple of us have touched on is AI. This is a new emerging critical industry that's very energy intensive. It is not acceptable for the United States to not be the leader in AI. We must win the AI race and lead in that, and that's going to take a lot more energy. If you had not won election, we would not have won the AI race. Full stop. Energy would not have been there to enable us to win. Reshoring of manufacturing. These trillions of dollars you led off with, it's going to come back to our country to make chips, to make steel, to make automobiles, to make artificial intelligence, to make all of these industries we've outsourced. That's only going to be possible with way more American energy. But we have that energy. We have those resources. We have those businesses. We have those capitalists. We just need to stop standing in the way of them and follow the lead you've set, which is to enable them, not to subsidize them, not to help them, to enable them to invest American money and create American jobs here. Regarding our balance of trade, the second largest export of the United States is liquefied natural gas. Second fastest. In the next few years, it'll be our largest export in our country. But yet, 18 months ago, the Biden administration had said, we're going to stop issuing permits for new LNG export terminals. That's just nuts. That's a great competitive advantage we have, huge balance of trade driver, a huge industry just coiled and ready to go. I just came back from Poland last night. They are thrilled that America's back in business again and that the rest of Europe can get off of Russian energy and can enable their own economic growth with secure, reliable, affordable energy from the United States. I also witnessed the signing ceremony for a deal between two large American businesses to build a huge nuclear power plant in northeastern Poland, the first of this design built in Europe. It'll be the first of many. I spoke with many other nations over there. They want to buy more American gas. They want to get American technology. They want to have a partnership with us. And they shared the message I delivered to Europe in my keynote remarks is that unleashing energy is the way you make your society safer, more prosperous, more free, and that these sort of over-the-top climate alarmism doesn't do anything to help the environment of our world, but it does impoverish people, it does reduce the security of your nation, and it makes you weaker. I think that's a constant message many of us around this table have brought to Europe. We want our friends in Europe standing up again and leaning in. A lot great is happening under your leadership. We're unleashing consumer products that Americans wanted to buy that Biden was making illegal. I'll be in Georgia on Friday at Renai's manufacturing plant. Tankless natural gas water heaters. Incredibly popular product. They almost became illegal. The return of common sense is incredibly welcome across this country, across the world. And back to Elon, that extra thing, we're going to deliver all of this with less people, less money, less burden on the U.S. taxpayers. Not smaller departments and smaller services, better, more thoughtful services done more efficiently and smarter. The way you'd have to run a business. We've got to get our fiscal house in order, and you and the people around this table are making it happen. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm honored to be here.
Good job. Thank you very much. Please.
Yes, Mr. President, you are 100% correct. The border is 99.99% safe, under control. You have completely reversed the entire situation. In fact, the day before yesterday, I was down in El Paso, and those Border Patrol agents are so impacted by how you have changed things in a year. They have put up huge pictures that say, under the Biden administration, the mobs of people that were pushing through razor wire and trampling children, and the chaos and the violence that was happening at that same location, they have a picture there that says, this is what the Biden administration looks like, and this is what the Trump administration looks like. It's peaceful. People who do business between Mexico and America are coming through. They're doing it legally. They're following the law, and it's all because of what you've done and what you've empowered them to do. The recruitment for Border Patrol is through the roof. For ICE agents, they want to be a part of ICE because they recognize they actually get to do their jobs. I have the Coast Guard too. Coast Guard recruitment is up over 20% just in the last 60 days. Everybody wants to be a part of what the heritage is of this country. We've repositioned the entire Coast Guard fleet to focus on border and drug interdiction. As we've secured the border, the cartels have gone to the water and are going out in maritime waters to move their drugs into this country. The Coast Guard just in the last 2 months has taken into custody over 126 tons of cocaine, millions of doses of fentanyl. It's just amazing. And the aliens that they are deporting is incredible too. We've been working with all of them. The one thing that I want to point out is the fake news has been saying that Biden deported more people than you. And it's an absolute lie. And they're letting the Biden administration get away with manipulating and cooking the books. What they're counting for the Biden administration is every single person that came to that border that they processed and let into this country. They're allowing Biden to say that was a deportation just by processing somebody and letting them come into the country. It's absolutely false. It's not true at all. You have deported over 250 known terrorists. You've deported thousands of foreign terrorist organization members and gang members, hundreds of thousands of people that were in this country illegally. We've collected $30 billion worth of tariffs through CBP, and we've also collected millions and millions, hundreds of millions of fines and penalties from people that have overstayed here in this country. So I just want to thank you. You've been a game changer. I want to thank Pete for his leadership at DOD and what they've done. I want to thank Marco for his diplomacy and getting us travel documents into these countries. Mexico has finally come to the table and now is going to take a lot more people that we're able to send back to that country. And the president of Mexico told me, sir, she turned around over 500,000 people in Mexico before they ever reached our border. We should be counting those as deportations because they never even made it to the border because she turned them around because you forced her to. So those are all people that never even came here because they got the message because you were so aggressive. So thank you for what you're doing. And every day we get up and do jobs that matter. And we appreciate that.
Tom is doing a great job.
Oh, yeah. Tom's a great messenger for us. He just, yeah, he's hardcore. Yeah, thank you.
He is hardcore.
Yeah, he is.
No question about it. Kelly?
Mr. President, it's such an honor to serve in this administration and on behalf of Main Street America for our 34 million small businesses that make up 99% of all businesses in this great nation. I have to tell you, under your leadership, Main Street is open for business again. They're thriving and they're investing. And the data that we have at the Small Business Administration, the loans that we're putting out, a record 26,000 loans in your first 100 days means that 2,000 small businesses each week are receiving that funding, that investment in the future. Small businesses create 2 out of every 3 new jobs in this country, and we've already seen under your leadership the jobs economy is back, manufacturing jobs are back. We've seen a 38% increase in manufacturing loans. We put out 1,500 manufacturing loans in your first 100 days. We saw startups increase by 54%, and we saw businesses under 5 people increase by 95%. So your leadership on the economy matters to every region of this great nation. I'll tell you, on the manufacturing front, I'm out on a national manufacturing tour. We've met with 250 manufacturers, and as I walk through the factory floors, they all ask me to thank you for fighting for their jobs, for these industries, and for the people who are creating things from pharmaceuticals to aerospace, to food, and all these essentials that this nation needs to be independent and strong. And to that end, I'm working with Congress. We'll be announcing tomorrow an upsizing of our manufacturing loans to make sure that that economic engine, because 98% of all manufacturers are small businesses. It's incredible to walk through these factories that are really creating what you had in your first administration, the blue collar boom. It's now a new collar boom because it's the intersection of technology and manufacturing and what they can create for our war fighters, for our aerospace, for pharmaceuticals with less than 300 to 500 employees, sometimes 100 employees. I was at a factory in Georgia on Monday that is creating machines to help with the Iron Dome in Israel, less than 50 employees. This is the engine of our economy. It's the heartbeat of our communities. It's the small businesses that helped elect you because they needed your economic agenda. So thank you, Mr. President. It's such an honor, and congratulations on an epic 100 days. I do have to thank Elon. I do want to note, we just cut $3 billion in contracts because of Doge's work. That's $3 billion that hardworking families that won't have to work until April 15th to pay for the waste, fraud, and abuse that we continue to find in this government on behalf of taxpayers. So again, thank you, Elon, as well. Thank you.
Great job, Kelly. Thank you very much. Elon, I love the double hat, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
He's the only one that can do that. You don't get away with it.
Well, Mr. President, you know, they say I wear a lot of hats. And as you can see, it's true. Even my hat has a hat. You know, the American people voted for secure borders, safe cities, and sensible spending. And that's what they've gotten. A tremendous amount has been accomplished in the first 100 days. As everyone has said, it's more than has been accomplished in any administration before, ever, period. This portends very well for what will happen for the rest of the administration. I think this could be the greatest administration since the founding of the country.
Well, we all want to thank you for your help. You know, you really have sacrificed a lot. Been treated very unfairly.
Well, they do like to wear my cars, which is not great. You know, could be better.
But you have been treated unfairly. But the vast majority of people in this country really respect and appreciate you, and this whole room can say that very strongly. You've really been a tremendous help. You opened up a lot of eyes as to what can be done, and we just want to thank you very much. And you know, you're invited to stay as long as you want. At some point, I guess he wants to get back home to his cars and his You've done an incredible job. $150 billion. Think of this.
Yeah. 160 now.
Yeah, 160. They said, oh, it could have been more. And a lot of stuff is being worked on. That number could be doubled and even tripled. A lot of things are being worked on that we don't count yet because it's not quite there. But you've done a fantastic job, and we appreciate it very much, Elon. You know
Thank you. It's also an honor to work with your incredible cabinet. I just like to say thank you, everyone, for it's great to work with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. President, congratulations on this truly historic first 100 days of your administration, really only made possible by your focused leadership on delivering the mandate the American people gave you. You've empowered all of us to deliver that mandate, and I'm grateful to have the privilege of leading the intelligence community towards ending the weaponization, politicization of the intelligence community that's gone on for far too long. And building out what is truly a lean and agile and effective intelligence community that is helping you deliver that promise to the American people of safety, security, and freedom. So, Mr. President, I'd like to highlight just 3 of the areas where we are helping to support your leadership and your work in making America safe again and bringing about these changes. First of all, because of your designation of cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, I took immediate action with our National Counterterrorism Center to prioritize their focus on those terrorists and gang members who are trying to enter our country through legal or illegal means, and to seek out those who already are here in our country because of the Biden administration's 4 years of open borders. We've been working very closely with your great Attorney General's team at the DEA to get these known cartels into our systems, to be able to stop them at the border, and turning over names to Department of Homeland Security and the FBI to be able to find those who are already here in our country. Just the other day, we found 700 alien terrorists who have ties to MS-13, Tren de Aragua, and the Sinaloa cartel. Just yesterday, our NCTC identified almost 600 individuals with ties to other terrorists who came through our borders illegally, claimed asylum, and under the Biden administration were paroled here within our borders. Secondly, Mr. President, like too many organizations in the federal government, the ODNI has become very bloated with too much waste and abuse going on within the organization. We've done a few immediate steps. We are doing more. The ODNI is 25% smaller and more lean today than it was when I walked in the door and when you took office. Secondly, we have just this morning actually shut down a human capital office. As soon as you issued the executive order to stop all DEI activities, we did that, shut down the DEI office, but we discovered this human capital office that was essentially a slush fund for DEI initiatives, hidden under the guise of human capital, that closed down this morning, saving taxpayers $150 million. We'll soon be announcing an additional $2.6 billion in savings with other programs and contracts that do nothing to ensure our national security interests. And lastly, we're working every day to hold the deep state accountable, to end the politicization, weaponization of the intelligence community. This past week, I sent 3 criminal referrals for illegal and unauthorized leaks to the media of classified intelligence for prosecution. We have 11 more that are under investigation. We've revoked, at your direction, 67 security clearances, and we continue the work of declassifying documents, as we have already around the JFK assassination. We have more coming for the assassination of Bobby's father, Senator Kennedy, and MLK assassination. And we continue our extensive investigations around exposing the very serious issues we have related to election integrity, illegal abuses of FISA, Crossfire Hurricane, and others. Mr. President, under your leadership, we are working every day to bring about that transparency and accountability that the American people deserve. So thank you for the opportunity.
Great job. Thank you very much. Lee?
Mr. President, at the Biden EPA, the Green New Deal was raging. At the Biden EPA, we saw billions of tax dollars burning. At the Biden EPA, we saw industries suffocating. But at the Trump EPA, the Green New Deal is dead. At the Trump EPA, we know that we can both protect the environment and grow the economy. I have 13 pages of accomplishments from our first 100 days in here, and in it, part of it is 100 environmental accomplishments at the Trump EPA. You don't have to take my word for it. We released it to the media this morning. Every single day that President Trump is in this office, there will be a major environmental accomplishment every single day of the Trump administration. At the Trump EPA, we're also launching what is the largest deregulatory action in the history of the country. We're going to be giving our director of the OMB a whole lot of work because we inherited a big mess from the Biden EPA. And working with Elon and Doge, I've canceled now $22 billion worth of grants. Now today is a special day for many reasons. The biggest reason why we're here is that this is the 100th day of the most consequential, historic first 100 days in the history of this country. Today, while we're here, the House of Representatives is voting on Congressional Review Act bills, considering the EPA waivers that were given to California's tailpipe emissions, where California set their own standards. But there should be one national standard, and right now, Congress, on the House side, is going to be voting on that today. On a personal note, while this is a bit outside of the EPA jurisdiction, today is my last day serving in the United States Army. And I first signed up towards the end of the 90s. And I've had a chance to see a lot of national security teams over the course of the last 27 years. There has never been a national security team ever assembled that had the backs of our warriors like this national security team right now.